It is so much more. An embodiment of empathy, connectedness, and visceral emotion, communicating a universal message without uttering a single word. This is Journey. Stop. If you or a loved one recently suffered from spoilers, therapy is expensive and murder is illegal, so this is a warning. While the game relies heavily on personal interpretation, there are still plenty of moments which you may want to experience for yourself. The game isn't long, and I assure you it's worth giving a chance. Okay, so what even is Journey? Well, it's a game designed around evoking an emotional response from the player. By the way, that's you. Okay, so what? Plenty of other games do just that, and isn't it kind of the point to feel things while playing a game? It's an interactive form of media for a reason, right? It's important to remember the time period that Journey came out in. The most emotionally taxing game that I can remember from early 2012 is Mass Effect 3, and that I still haven't forgiven BioWare for butchering one of my favorite characters.
You will rue the day you did this.
Yeah, I know they fixed it, but never underestimate the power of a grudge. So anyway, evoking an emotional response from a player requires some form of investment, both from the game and from the player. And then Journey came along and challenged what a game could be. Something simple and straightforward enough that anyone could pick it up and pull something out of it. And the game isn't shy about showing you its large scale. In fact, it does so immediately. Time and time again, it'll make you feel small, almost insignificant. But at no point does it appear that you've won or lost. There's no score, there's no trackers of any kind. You just keep moving forward. The game's honestly pretty peaceful. Save for that one. And then there was the other. So we have this game. It's warm, it's inviting, and it's pretty grand. But wrapped within it all is a world beaten by greed. A land now forgotten to time, serving as a cyclical punishment for the souls of those who came before. A punishment for the abuse of a sentient life form, fated to be used as a tool to quench the destructive thirst of a fractured society. The abusers now are forced to reincarnate, donning the red cloth of their victim and marching the path of redemption, bearing witness the result of their own humanity. Well, that's pretty bleak, but it's the impression I gathered from the various glyphs you find scattered about the game. And also by talking to God. This one in particular. But Journey's greatest strength is something I never anticipated, but it would completely change the way that I approach the game. And it's actually pretty simple. You're not alone. Honestly, it somehow escaped me that this game was actually co-op, which may have something to do with my profound level of reading contraception. Until like the age of 14, I thought co-op was pronounced co-op, so take my entire being with a pinch of salt. To me, Journey was a single-player experience, so that's what I believed I was walking into. Of course, I was immediately excited by this revelation.
Bro, what the fuck?
Or not. But I came around pretty quick. I like it. I feel this is due to Journey's reliance on a simple communication system. There's no voice chat, there's no prefabricated messages, nary a text box in sight. Your only method of direct communication is through little chirps and songs. A single button push signifies your existence to the world around you. The game connects you with one person at a time, with zero control given to who you'll play with. But it's entirely up to you if you want to interact with the other players who pop up. Given that this serves as the backbone for the entire video you're watching, it's safe to say I interacted, despite my...
The fuck?
Yeah. One detail worth pointing out here is that the little symbol your newfound best friend spits out is unique to them for the playthrough. That's some foreshadowing. You may stumble upon other people randomly while you play, and this of course depends on the platform you're playing on, the position of the sun relative to Uranus, and whether or not you remember to pay the internet this month. Did I get anyone? Sorry for the fake out, I needed a transition. Okay, let me ask. When was the last time you felt like you genuinely connected with another random human being in a game? When was the last time you tried talking in a game at all? And if you're anything like me, then the answer is a pretty long time. And if you're not, then I wish you a very happy, socially adjusted Tuesday evening. Check, please.
Very good,
I
sir.
grew up deep in the trenches of the Modern Warfare 2 lobbies, questioning my sexuality and trying to analyze which of several thousand potential candidates could be my father. Catching shit from the whirlwind of rage being thrown around because you're 23 and 0 and shitting yourself, you little corner camping one-man army bitch-ass motherfucker. It was simple, and I made some really good friends at the time. I fell out of playing games like that to the point where doing so now is terrifying. Though like I said, it wasn't always like that. My very joyous
what the
reaction
fuck?
stems from fear. Fear of rejection, of underperforming. The closest I get to something similar these days is Final Fantasy XIV, and that's basically 2 single-player games in the trench coat. But it's slowly getting me back into playing games with other people. Anyway, this whole thing pretty much started here. The person I just broke bread with jumped off a bridge, and like the paragon of entropy that I am, I contemplated just leaving them and speedrunning the rest of the game. But fortunately for me, I was recording for this video, so I followed them. And just like that, I accidentally made a friend. The game kind of provides the most cushioned environment possible for interaction, so there's no way things could possibly go wrong. There was a lot of lag, but everything in between was just fantastic. There are some absolutely breathtaking scenes throughout the game. I played it in the dead of night, lights off, socks missing, and had my eyeballs blasted. From the pure bliss of surfing sand dunes to the sheer agony of trudging through a blizzard, every step being scored by a beautiful and at times haunting soundtrack. The game is a sensory marvel, and being able to experience all of that with absolute strangers is something rarely seen emphasized in games. And competition tends to surround multiplayer games. Your team versus another, you versus another, you versus all. It's that competition that makes and breaks the goal. And speaking of goals, have I mentioned there's an actual goal to this game? Earlier I tried to subliminally burn it into the crevices of your now developing retinal fissures. Yeah, right here. Oh, and over here. Anyway, the whole point of the game is to make it to that mountain. That's your goal. But it's the little moments in between that tie everything together here. Moments to give that goal meaning. Meaning from building connection through this shared experience, together embracing the spectacular and pushing through the strenuous. Something I initially thought would be annoying or get in the way became such a vital component, eliminating that fear of communicating with strangers by simplifying everything. The characters are practically the same physically, the only difference being some markings, which I found out later means that they completed the game at least once. But despite things being so simplified, personality is still able to shine through. You remember the first time I got hit? That's the stuff. Well, shortly after, something kind of unexpected happened. I'm pregnant. What? They came back. They didn't have to. They could have just as easily f***ed off and kept going their merry way, but they didn't. And that simple act of care from a stranger here helped put some things into perspective. I often anticipate the worst from people. It's far easier to reject than be rejected. A byproduct of a few bygone era, one I craved a challenge, yet still desperately cling to. I wonder if they had to think about it. I wonder if it just came naturally to them. I wonder if they wonder about my wonder. But I think I'll just keep wandering. Together we explored the remains of a ruined civilization, uncovered the mysteries of a sentient natural force, surfed a sea of sand dunes, and rode the slopes into hell itself, climbing our way out the other side to a frozen victory. No matter the location, we were there to help each other, showing each other how to progress, objects or locations the other may have missed. Doing so while retaining compassion, patience, and understanding for one another. Simply through the act of existing, they were now an integral part of the world. A world saying to just take your time. But I had stopped listening. While climbing the summit, we found ourselves stuck, caught between the wind, the mountain, and my obliviousness. And while losing a pissing match to Mother Nature, I turned to check on my... You may not remember, but there was a lot of lag. So I waited, and just for the fun of it, I waited some more. Then suddenly they sprung to life, bolting through an opening just ahead of us. And left dumbstruck, I tried to follow them, only to be shoved back into place by the wind, and struggling I'd eventually push through, and nothing. They were gone. Not a trace of their existence. Only what I've held on to. And despite it, this was when I fell in love with the game. I found myself mourning the loss of someone I'd only just met, growing to trust them in such a short amount of time, having them become a major part of my experience, and genuinely feeling as though I lost something. Someone important. I wouldn't have another companion for the rest of the game. But if I'm being completely honest, I wouldn't have it any other way. I would go on to finish the game alone. But what I remember most aren't the locations, the riddles, or even the ending. It's the person I got to experience it all with. The one who helped fill the gaps. Faceless, voiceless, but surprisingly, not nameless. After the credits have rolled and just before you're about to go back to the start, you're given a list. And on that list are the symbols for each person you met in order of appearance. For me, there were only 2. The first had left within a few minutes, but the second one there is the one from my story. Now, you may notice a significant lack of names. Thinking it was a bug, I looked for some answers and came upon a site that can pull the data from one of the game's files, and here they are. And now it's here that I'd like for this story to end. I don't know if you were ever thinking along the same lines as me, but if by some miracle you happen to stumble upon this, thank you for making my experience one that's worth holding on to. Thank you for choosing to play with me. Endless parallels can be drawn between the game and life itself, a game that tells the tale of life, death, and rebirth. A cycle we flirt with daily, constructing and deconstructing ourselves, whether to match what's believed to be true internally or matching the expectations of the external. Shaping ourselves through perpetual construction and destruction of our thoughts, our feelings, and our experiences, giving meaning and purpose to that mountain. Maybe you fucking hate this game, this video, this me. Maybe you think this entire thing is unnecessary. And to all of that and more, I say yes. Ultimately, it's all stupid. But so are we. The simple can be the outstanding, and the outstanding can be the simple. We approach and perceive individually. Each mountain we set our sights on is personal, the path to which is laid out through the remains of every idea, hope, and dream that's led us to the present. Some failures, some successes, but it all begins the same. Pushing ourselves to build and move through today to have even just a sliver of a chance at elevating to a higher tomorrow. And that's why Journey wasn't the game I expected, but I'm glad I gave it a chance. Thank you for watching and for giving me a chance. Take care. And cut. Okay, that's it. I'm ready to come out now. Hello? Anyone there? Come on, guys. It's been like 12 hours. The dumpster's a rental, and this bag isn't big enough for 2 pieces of shit.